NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring your latest and your lots to go over Brooklyn Nets news. All right. Let's dive right in because, like I just said, we got a lot to discuss. Big news with the Nets, obviously, regarding Kenny Atkinson, which is going to be the main focal point of this episode. But before we talk about Kenny Atkinson, let's just look at the last 4 games for the Nets. The Nets went 3-1 the last 4, and had some pretty great performances and one disastrous performance. We'll start first with the Celtics game. What a great game that was in Boston. Caris LeVert and his 51 points. I mean, look, I think Caris is established himself as the best player on the Nets now. I always thought he was the best player outside of Kyrie going into this year. I know everyone loves Dinwiddie, and Dinwiddie, don't get me wrong, is a good player, but Caris just has that next level. And he's just a complete package, and he just seems to be more fluid and more consistent. And Dinwiddie seems like Dinwiddie will make one great play 1 minute and then a terrible play the next, like that Heat loss way back. So, but LeVert, he just seems to be constantly getting better, and we know that LeVert has all this potential, and it's just we're seeing it now. And we're seeing it more often. And that Celtics game was fantastic. I'm watching that game, and I had a feeling that the Nets were going to win that game. I'm watching it. I'm like, wow. Well, they were down most of the game. The stupid Celtic fans are chanting, "Where is Kyrie?" Which, holy crap, Celtic fans. Can you freaking drop that? Like, seriously. Like, it is so old news that they're still cheering, "Where is Kyrie? Oh, we're both the Celtics fans." Like, seriously. I actually watched a video that I think it was like a Celtics analyst who actually yelled at Celtics fans, like I'm doing now, saying, "Drop it. It's so old news. You're in a better situation with Kemba Walker. You're happier. So why do you feel the need to chant anything about Kyrie Irving? The guy's not there." Where is Kyrie? He was getting shoulder surgery. That's where he was that exact day. It's unbelievable that still is something that these fans in Boston feel the need to chant when their team is in 3rd place in the Eastern Conference, possibly going to be the 2nd seed, and has been so much of a better team. But anyway, beside the point, completely off the side. It just baffles me still that is the chant that the Celtics fans feel like they still need to say. Anyway, LeVert was amazing. He took over the game down the stretch in the 4th quarter. The Nets battled back. He made big shot after big shot, big play after big play. Kind of a questionable call at the very end with Marcus Smart fouling Caris LeVert when the Nets were down 3. But let me say this about let me talk to Marcus Smart here once again. Like, not that Marcus Smart is going to ever watch a NetsBoy episode. And if he does, that's really weird, but that would also be cool. But I'm just talking to you, Marcus. With 1.2 seconds left, and a guy catching the ball with his back to the basket, all right, he has to turn and shoot. Why are you trying to strip the ball? Why are you trying to steal the ball? Just put your hand up. There is no reason that Marcus Smart should have been trying to block or strip the ball. You know what I mean? Like, just contest the shot. That is such an impossible shot. LeVert won't make that shot if he had 100 tries. Maybe he'll be 1 out of 100 in making that shot, kind of like a fadeaway, fall-away 3, as long as you just contest it. But instead, Marcus Smart decides that he wants to have the great defensive play, because, he's a great defensive player, which he actually is. Like, he's seriously one of the best defensive players I've seen in a while. Him and Patrick Beverley are 2 of the best defenders when it comes to the guard position. But he wants to get the steal or the block or whatever, and he clearly fouls LeVert. And well, like I said, it was questionable. I thought it was a foul, so did the refs. You could argue, well, you're going to make that call at the end, but whatever. And LeVert made all 3 free throws and then took over in overtime. Yes, Tatum didn't play. Yes, Jaylen Brown got in a foul trouble. Yes, Kemba Walker was on a minute restriction. Yes, Gordon Hayward left with a knee injury. Doesn't matter. The Nets still came back when they were down by double digits to win that game and made big plays, and LeVert had 51. Nets win. Then they followed that out with a complete disaster against the Grizzlies. I don't even want to discuss that game. I barely even watched it. I'm gonna be honest. I was actually went to the Seton Hall basketball game that night because everybody of my loyal Nets fans, NetsBoy followers know that I am a Seton Hall alum and a huge Seton Hall basketball fan. I was actually at the game and I had the Nets recorded and I was gonna go home and watch the game. And my one friend just kind of looked at me. He's like, "Hey, I know you got plans to watch the Nets game, but don't." And I'm like, "What?" And I checked the score, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm not even gonna watch." So I didn't really even watch that game, and I'm glad I didn't because they lost by like 31 points. It was on the. I don't even know what exactly happened. I don't think I want to know what happened. Like, I couldn't put myself through watching that, knowing what actually was going to happen in the game. So that was a disaster. But then they 180 it, and they completely dominate the Spurs, with one of their best offensive performances. They set a record for the most points in franchise history against the Spurs. Complete dominating performance. So I'm like, and LeVert had his first career triple-double. So I'm saying to myself, like, what is going on with this team? And then they fire Kenny Atkinson. After the best win of the year, followed by probably one of the worst losses of the year, and then one of the best, before that, the best comeback of the year, the Nets decide, or Sean Marks, or Joseph Asai, or whoever it is, or the players, decided to fire Kenny Atkinson. Look, Kenny Atkinson was not my favorite coach, as a Nets. But I feel like he did a good job. And I really felt like what he did with this team should have earned him the benefit of the doubt with this season. Like, he took a team that won 20 games 3 years ago, established a culture and had got the most out of players that were considered to be afterthoughts, like Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrone. We saw how he's been developing. Even David Nwaba before he tore his Achilles. A lot of players. D'Angelo Russell's probably the most, biggest name of a player who's took his game to the next level under Kenny Atkinson. He's really develops these young guys, and he built this culture. He built this team. He made the Nets a destination for Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant to want to come to. And then they fire him. And there's a lot of reports of the reasons why. A lot of people, some people saying that he lost the locker room. Some people saying some of the players didn't like it anymore, and they went up to, Joseph Tsai and ownership and Sean Marks and says they don't think he's the right coach for a win-now team. Some people say Kenny Atkinson just kind of talked to Sean Marks and said, "Listen, I don't think I can get to this team anymore, so you might as well fire me." And Sean Marks said, "Okay." There's a lot of rumors, and I'm not sure what the truth is. It might be a combination of it all. Like, it might be the fact that the Nets this year have, in my opinion, underachieved, even with all the injuries. I feel like this team should still be around 500 right now. But they're 5 games under 500, so they're not like ridiculously underachieving. But I think they should be around 500 right now with all the injuries. But yes, they've blown tons of leads this year. Yes, they've lost a lot of games they probably should have won, which is probably the biggest reason why you would say, looking at the body of work of why Kenny Atkinson should have been fired and was fired, was because you look at some of the losses they had and you just say to yourself, late game execution is just not where it should be. And it's true, you can blame the players, but a lot of times you got to blame the coach on that one too. So maybe that's part of it, but I just feel like the benefit of the doubt of this guy for what he built there in Brooklyn, at least give him to the end of the year and give him a chance to coach the team next year with Kyrie and KD, right? Like, we don't know if Kenny Atkinson is a good win-now coach, if he's just a developmental coach, because he never really had a win-now team. Like, this wasn't a win-now team. This was a team that's supposed to be better, but you know what I mean? Like, is this really a win? So maybe he could have been a really good win-now coach with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, but for whatever reason, Sean Marks and Joe Asai, they said, nope, we just don't think he's the right voice. And maybe that was always the plan. I mean, maybe the plan was, Sean Marks' plan was to bring in Kenny Atkinson, develop the young players, and now I guess the idea is that most of these guys have peaked, but they really haven't. Like, Jared Allen hasn't peaked. I don't think Karis LeVert has peaked. I think Dinwiddie, I think he peaked. I think he is what he is. Joe Harris, though, I think he's got a little bit more potential. Torian Prince, I feel like he's got more potential. So I wouldn't even say, like, he's brought out the max of these players, but maybe Sean Marks and the Nets, they believe that he's just not getting to the guys anymore. He's not getting the development and the growth of the players that he did the last 3 years. So I understand that, but my other argument would be why not just let him coach the rest of this year and give him a chance? I mean, they're in the 7th seed right now if the season were to end today. They're 29 and 34, 5 games under 500, but like, why not give him the rest of this year? There's 20 games left of the year. Now there's only 19. Like, why wouldn't you just say, hey, but maybe I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. And like I said, there's a lot of rumors about the players saying something or going. Look, there's only 2 players on the Nets that have enough power, in my opinion, or persuasion to go up to management and say, I don't want this guy to coach me, and that's Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. They're the only 2. And Kevin Durant is somebody who allegedly in an interview said that he wanted to come to the Nets because he loved Kenny Atkinson. He watched what he did and thought it was a great system. So does that mean it's Kyrie? Maybe, but Kyrie also seemed to really praise Kenny Atkinson. So, I can't speak on that. Like I said, it's everything I've read has been a different story. And everyone wants to blame Kyrie Irving because he's the logical scapegoat. Everybody wants to blame the players. I just think that maybe this was always Sean Marks' plan. I think Sean Marks really felt that let Kenny Atkinson develop the young players, and then the year that now that they got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, they say, you know what? When we go into the year where KD's back, I want a more X's and O's strategic win now coach. And maybe that was always the plan. And maybe he just felt that this was the chance to fire Kenny for whatever reason. Maybe Kenny said, I feel like I'm losing the guys. My message isn't getting across. And Sean Marks said, you know what? I'm about to fire this guy by the end of the season anyway. Let's do it now. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I'm speculating. I have no evidence to back any of this up. But it just kind of shocked me. It caught me off guard. And I just don't think it was the right thing to do. I really don't. Like I said, Kenny Atkinson was not my favorite. I feel like he made tons of mistakes, but I feel like the Nets should have given him a benefit of the doubt and give him a chance to at least play out this year and see what happens. Like if the Nets fell apart and didn't make the playoffs, or they really struggled and barely made it as the 8th seed, okay, and they get swept in the first round, I can understand them firing Kenny Atkinson, but give him the rest of the year, right? Like, I don't know. We'll never know, really, because we haven't gotten really a lot of straightforward answers. Sean Marks just kept saying, it was a mutual decision between ownership and Kenny and everything, that they need a different voice. Whatever. But anyway, so Kenny Atkinson out as a shock, and Jacques Vaughn, the interim head coach, and in his first game, the Nets barely, but they did beat the Bulls in a game that the Nets really should have won by a hell lot more, but they had 29 turnovers, which was ridiculous. But the offense did seem to flow a little bit better. Like there was a little bit more ball movement. Major difference that we've seen so far from Jacques Vaughn through one game is that he started DeAndre Jordan, had Jared Allen come off the bench, and he stuck with Wilson Chandler starting instead of Taurean Prince, which is something that Kenny Atkinson did the game prior with the Spurs. And he also seemed to, I noticed this, he seemed to rely more on Durant, on Dinwiddie and LeVert. And I think that could have been the biggest knock that people had on Kenny Atkinson, was he would get away from LeVert and Dinwiddie and try to balance the minutes more among all the guys. I think Dinwiddie had like 35 minutes in that game, and LeVert had like 32 or 34, 33, somewhere around there. So basically, it looks like Jacques Vaughn is saying, hey, these are our 2 best players. We should play them more. And he also went with DeAndre Jordan more. And look, who's a better big between Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan? That's a great debate because I feel like they both bring different things to the table. Toughness and rebounding and interior defense. And what do I mean by that? I mean like bodying people up. I don't mean shot blocking. Bodying people up is DeAndre Jordan. But offensively and shot blocking and help defense, that's Jared Allen, and speed and quickness. So they have 2 totally different skill sets. So who's the better one? I don't know. But I will say this, DeAndre Jordan tends to be the more consistent of the 2. So I think that's one of the strategies Jacques Vaughn's doing is let's get the guy who's a little bit more consistent to be in the starting rotation. Let's give him a few extra minutes. Let's give our 2 best players right now, Dinwiddie and LeVert, extra minutes. And Joe Harris, I think, had a good number of minutes as well, which makes sense. So it kind of feels like Jacques Vaughn might be moving his team towards more of a let's focus on our better players getting a few more minutes and let's give the role guys a little less. And Kenny Atkinson was more of like a let's give everybody almost a consistent amount of minutes and see what happens. So overall, though, the Nets won. They barely did. But give the Bulls a lot of credit. That team plays hard, man. Like they really do. But they just can't execute down the stretch, I guess, either. I don't know. They made that great comeback at the end. But Nets managed to win the game by 3. A lot of turnovers. And, yeah, the Nets were 3-1. So we'll see what happens moving forward. I mean, the good news is the Nets went 3-1 the last 4 games. The bad news is, in my opinion, is I just don't understand why they fired Kenny Atkinson. And the one loss was a disaster. So, look, they're 29-34. The 5 games under 500. They're currently a game up on the Magic in the 7th seed, and about 4.5, 5 up on the Wizards. Who knows? So let's look at the next couple games, and let's see what the Nets could do. They're about to go on the West Coast trip, the dreaded West Coast trip, which is going to be tough for them. Lakers Tuesday night. That is almost certainly going to be a loss unless both Anthony Davis and LeBron James don't play for whatever reason. So certainly a loss against the Lakers. Then they have the Golden State Warriors. That should be a win. Should be, but once again, you never know with this team. Then the Clippers should be a loss. And then the Kings, a team that the Nets, I feel like, are at the same level as. So that's a game that I feel like they should win, but they could also lose. So the Nets should go 2-2 the next 4 games. Like I said, my expectation of this team is completely different than what it was like a month ago. I just want them to make the playoffs as the 7th seed. That's all I want. Like I said, I've given up on the 45 wins. They would need to go, I think, like 16-3 the rest of the year to get to 45 wins, which is okay, yeah, all right. LeVert would need to drop average 51 points a game for that to happen. So tough luck on me on that one. But at least if they can get on a little bit on a streak and they start beating teams they're supposed to beat, they should be around 500 come the end of the season, and they can be the 7th seed, and that's what I'm hoping for. So anyway, let me know what you all think about these last 4 stretch of games, about Caris LeVert really looking like he's coming into his own. Most importantly, the Kenny Atkinson fire. I know a lot of people didn't like him, of a lot of the Net fans I've spoken to. And like I said, he wasn't my favorite. I just kind of feel like what he built, he deserved a little bit more of a benefit of a doubt, in my opinion. But who knows? Let me know what you guys think. Also, let me know who you think would be the next Nets head coach. Not going to go a lot into that right now. I'll go over that in the offseason, but I know Tyronn Lue's the number 1 name that everyone's throwing out there because he coached the Cavaliers the year they won the championship, and Kyrie Irving was there. His name popped up there. Mark Jackson's name popped up, which would be my choice because I love Mark Jackson, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Basically the Nets, let's be honest, the Nets are going to be able to pick whoever they want to be as their head coach because that's a very desirable job. If you're a coaching candidate looking to become a head coach, you want the Nets job because you've got a win-now team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving next year, like in a big market in like New York City. Like it's a great job. So there'll be a lot of interest there. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not really going to discuss that right now. I'll probably discuss it over the off season. But let me know what you guys think about everything. And yeah, until then, this is NetsBoy getting ready for the final stretch of games and wishing Kenny Atkinson good luck. And also thank you very much because I do believe that you were a very critical component to the Nets and what they've established now. So we do give a NetsBoy salute to Kenny Atkinson. Wish him the best. And hopefully he gets a good job, which I think he will. And yeah, he bounces back. So until then, keep your eyes open for the next NetsBoy episode. This is NetsBoy signing off.